Namaskara, good afternoon, and festive greetings to all our viewers. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samastita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. So, this is for the Devi in all of us, hoping that she will help us get us over the present pandemic as life must go on. Today is the last of the weekly series of talks, India and the world, cultural interflow. And today we have Dr. Professor Alexander Iliev from Bulgaria, Sofia, who will lead us through thousands of years of cultural history between Hindustan Peninsula, the Palmares, and Bulgaria. So India and Bulgarian ties go back to as early as the 8th century CE, but it was in the mid 18th, 19th century that their revolutionary Georgy Rakskovsky, who expressed support and sympathy for the people of India in the 1857 First War of Independence. Then Indian culture was further given an impetus when Rabindranath Tagore visited Bulgaria in 1926, and thereby the cultural and especially the literary ties were strengthened. Today we find that modern writers like Prem Chand, Mulk Raj Anand, Amrita Pritam are very popular among the Bulgarians. Besides our epics like the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Panchatantra are also very popular even to this day. Alexander Iliev is a Bulgarian mime, stage, and film director, anthropologist, and ethnographer, actor, and university professor. He is the pedagogue at the Plovdiv University and National Academy of Theatre and Film Arts, Bulgaria, and at the Carnegie Mellon University, USA. He is the leader of a Bulgarian National Interdiscipline Expedition. Dr. Iliev is internationally well known with over 4 decades of professional experience as a performer, author of 17 books and monographs, over 300 science and popular articles, director of more than 280 stage performances and 170 films. He has conducted numerous workshops. He holds 3 Guinness Book World Records, having broken 2 of his own records for the highest mime performance near Everest at a height of 5,000 and odd feet, and for the longest solo mime. In 1993, the Guinness Book of World Records wrote down Iliev's record as part of the Everest Marathon, and 3 years later, for the highest concert ever organized in the world. He then performed at an altitude of 5,350 meters, and it is said that during marathons of this kind, the mime artist loses 10 kgs of his own weight. He walks more than 140 miles on stage and drinks more than 40 liters of water. The performer is allowed to have only a 1 minute break every 1 hour. Indeed, a marathon feat, Dr. Alexander Iliev. He has served on the Castio Sarafo National Academy for Theatre and Film Faculty. And since 1984, and traveling throughout the world. Iliev also trained extensively in commedia dell'arte, Chinese opera, various forms of puppetry, and other traditional theatre approaches and martial arts. Dr. Iliev is highly sought after as a teacher by institutions across the globe. So let's follow Dr. Iliev, and Dr. Iliev, please lead us the way as you take us through a journey of thousands of years to show us the connect between the Hindustan Peninsula, the Palmares, and Bulgaria. So, a warm welcome to our platform, the Destination Heritage platform, Dr. Alexander Iliev. It is indeed a privilege, and we are extremely happy to have you on our platform on this Sunday afternoon. So, welcome, and over to you, Dr. Alexander Iliev.
Namaskar. Namaskar, everybody. Thank you first for your kind invitation. And second, I like to wish you very good health in these cruel times and very big success in your aims, in everything you dream. Uh, my idea is to wish you to fulfill your dreams and to do uh, what you like to do all the time, to step on a path with heart. Our today lesson or s- my speech or our dialogue, as you like it, will be around the connections between Proto Bulgarians and modern Bulgarians with the Hindustan Peninsula. Hindustan Peninsula we call in our continent, in Europe, Mother India. Why? Because everything
Iliev.
in cultural
Is it
aspect
ತೆಗೆದು
and anthropological aspects is coming from India.
on this, sir?
Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Doctor. Please carry on.
Yeah. And in the beginning, we will speak about a hypothesis. Hypothesis means in our field of science, we know 99% that the true is more near to my following words, but same time, because of the science, we have to check and we have to prove. As like Buddha says, trust but prove. And the idea is to prove by yourself. Our life, today's life, is given just to prove the the truth. Well, uh, let's check first. Can you go to the other slide? Next slide. Uh, to see the rhythms of Eurasia. This is a big, large continent. Asia is the center of everything, and Europe is attached a little bit to Asia. The rhythms of Eurasia means all the roads of modern Eurasia, you can see the highway route maps of Asia, are the same routes were 7,000 years ago. Everything is working absolutely perfect. Uh, at the time of Alexander the Great, he called this the road of Silk Road, because this way he brought the first silk to Europe, uh, coming from China at that time. But you know, the silk uh, is in an industry also in India. I have been many times to Varanasi and I saw the silk factories and this sari, beautiful Indian saris factories. Everything came from Varanasi at that time. So he used these roads also to make connection, to establish some other connection between Asia and Europe. These rhythms are the same until present days. Can you go to the next slide? After the taming of horse was happened probably 6,000 years ago. It was somewhere in modern Kazakhstan, but anyway, the horse was accepted by all the nations in the world. And this was the fastest, until 20th century, the fastest way to go from here to there. In the center of this movement were the Proto-Aryans. You know that Indian society is split or composed by two different ethnical groups. First are the Dravidians, the people from India, from the Hindustan Peninsula, and the Aryans, which came from modern Persia or modern Iran. But these two parts of this big, beautiful apple, or this big fruit called India, is coming from these two ethnical places. And from Kazakhstan, it was at that time it was territory of Sakas. Saka, you know very well from Sakyamuni or Shakyamuni from Buddha. Buddha was one of the Sakas and Shakyas. And from this very place in central India, in central Asia, was tamed the horse. And this way start this process of mutual understanding and mutual dialogue between many nations. On this map written in Cyrillic alphabet, you can see the process at that time, how all the people from Central Asia came over there. And Proto-Bulgarians were in this center of.
Just a minute, Dr. Iliev. Can you be a little bit louder?
Yes, can you hear
Yeah,
me now
now
better?
it is better.
Now it's
Yes,
better because I'm
yes,
closer to my computer.
yes.
And so this way, Proto-Bulgarians were at that time somewhere around this pink place to the right of your map, more near to India. They were in this part, as you know from Mahabharata, you call this Balhika, this part. Proto-Bulgarians were there around the holy city of Balkh in contemporary Afghanistan, today Afghanistan, and Balkh, Balhika, and Balkharians, Bulgarians. We are a part of this big giant family. Can you go to the next slide, please? Who were at that time nearby? First, Indians. This is the oldest group, anthropologically proved group. The Indians, you can see a coin from the time of Ashoka. Indians were very good soldiers, very good farmers, people who work with on many levels. And the most important level was the science and religion, because the religion is absolutely important for all the societies. Religion in our languages, in Italian language, religio means society. People organize in big societies. So India was very well organized. At that time, on the Iranian plateau were the Sumerians. They came after to the rivers of Euphrates and Tigris in modern Iraq, and they established in Indian way, they established their first civilization, Sumerian civilization. At that time, they were also there Akkadians and Jewish people, Semitian people. So they took the knowledge also from India. And this is the reason, the very reason to call for sure Mother India. Can we go to the next slide? Bulgarian were in this area, Pamir Mountains and Hindu Kush. You can see written Balkh. Where is Balkh? This is the Pianch River. Pianch in Indian languages is Panch, because 5 rivers are going to River Pianch. In modern Iranian language, Pianch means 5. So Bulgarian came from this area around Balkh, but before this they were more near to India, more near to modern Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir, this state of India, and this part which is now in the territory of Pakistan. These were the very area of Indians, and now we can find many tribes who are more near in genetic code to Bulgarians. And we know exactly that we came from this part. We were absolutely connected with all the Indian small countries. You know, at that time there were many small countries connected by Ashoka in 3rd century BC. But before this, there were many, many small countries. So Bulgarian came from this area, and they has a lot of contacts, religious contacts. They accept the oldest uh, scripts and alphabets, Kharoshti, Brahmi, Sanskrit. They were first alphabets of Bulgarians. Now the most popular in Bulgaria is the Cyrillic alphabet created by Bulgarian saints Cyrillus and Methodius. But at that time we use the alphabet of India. Can we go to the next slide? And what what is Balch? Balch, this all 99% of these pictures are mine because I was many times to this interesting and holy for all the Bulgarian places. Balch is the biggest city at that time. 4,200 years ago, Balch was only the wall around Balch was 220 kilometers long. Now this wall is preserved. As you can see to the right side up, uh, you can see the some part of this large and giant wall of this city. In Arabian language, probably in Urdu too, they call this al-Balat, mother of cities, because this was the first giant city. It was city plus inside country. Balkh was the center of Bactra. Bakhtri in Iranian language means blessed land. It's blessed just because everything is green. Around there are many deserts, but because this is very near to Pianj River, the all the land is very rich, and they have 3 or 4 different harvests by year. In the center of this thing, you can see the horses created like dragons, and a lady, because it was the matriarch time, lady tamed these 2 horses like dragons. They believe that horse and dragon at that time is the same animal. Well, at that time, it was the matriarchat that in these places, and first Proto-Bulgarians followed this tradition. You know about the matriarchat around the Mahabharata epic poem, because the main problem in Mahabharata, this is the lady uh, lost in this game with I don't remember what was the name of this game with in English. I can't remember. So this lady was lost by Pandavas and Kauravas. It was the problem in the center of Mahabharata. So the lady was the center of this society. You know the sacred uh, attitude of all ancient countries about the ladies, the mothers. Mothers are very important. The mother is commander of all the family because every single person was born by some lady, by some mother. And the attitude was absolutely sacred at that time. Can we go after? Next. And you can see the map of Pamir Mountains, and the down part of this map was the Bulgarian part. This is the Ishkoshim and Vaham, this part of Pamir Mountains. And our expedition proved absolutely sure that the people there, they are also Proto-Bulgarians. 45 good percent of contemporary Bulgarian people, they are coming from this place, for sure. You can see the Tokharian tablet. This is Tokharian language, and we accept at that time the Tokharian alphabet, uh, not Brahmi and Hroshti at that time, and uh, Balhikian goddess was also mother of goddess, same like Durga in your religion. Bulgarian Durga was this mother, and the name of this mother was Mokosh. It's coming from moksha, Indian word moksha. You know better than me what means moksha. Let's go forward, please. And now you can see the next slide, please. Yeah, you can see all the places connected with Proto-Bulgarians. This is our map of Pamir Mountain, and we have this proof from the graves of very noble Bulgarians. More of them were very good warriors and horsemen, and you can see the Saka Haumavarga. They were our cousins. So Buddha has for sure connection with Proto-Bulgarians at that time because he is also Saka or Shaka. Shaka, Shakya, Saka, different pronunciation of same ethnic group. Can we go forward? Next slide, please. Yes. And after Bulgarians, you can see a lady, and you can see as a crown on this lady the wall of Balkh. She was the ruler of Balkh. Uh, Up to 10th century BC, most of rulers of Balkh were women. After and parallel with this, it was the time of Tocharian people, and we has a lot of connections in contemporary western part of China were living Tocharian people, but this was the time of Dravidian, and you can see two persons. One is Dravidian to the left side, a little bit darker, same like Krishna or some of people more near to the south of India. And to the left side, you can see Buddha, who is from Sakas. He is from the part of Aryas. He was also Aryan. After the 3rd century BC came Alexander the Great to these places, and it was established the first Macedon Bactrian kingdom. And you can see the cultural mix between European tradition, ancient Greek and Macedonian tradition, and tradition of this place. The first one to the left side, you can see a typical Greek person, but to the right side you can see Samana or Sadhu person coming from India in these countries. So this place start some ethnogenesis. Many people came to one place, and the mix was absolutely huge between different people. And by the end of this story came the Kushanians. Kushanians, their Kush is very popular in India, Kushinagar. There are many words with the word Kush. Kushanian came also from India. They were the rulers of this big empire on place of Afghanistan, parts of India. These are the Gujarat, some part of the Jammu and Kashmir, also Punjab, parts of Haryana. This part was a part of Kushanian Empire. And at that time, parallel with the Guptas, with the Guptas, with Chandragupta and after Ashoka Maurya, all that time they has a lot of dialogues, many mutual markets, etc., etc. They share their wisdom and they share their science at that time. Can we go forward? Next. Well, at that time, start one superpower, probably 2000 years BC, start the superpower of Huns. Huns dominate just because they tame small horses very fast, and they were also very good warriors. You can see the Great Wall of China. It was built probably 2,500 years ago just because of these Huns. And Huns start to control a good 1/3 of all the Asian continent. Just because they are very fast, they were very not only good warriors, but very good rulers of new lands. And you know that some part of these Huns, future Mongols, came also to India, and the Mughal Empire was established by these Mongols, by their grandchildren. And you know, the Rajputs came from a part of this big tribe at that time and this big country at that time. Rajputs came from Badi or Eftalites or Heptalites. They were a part of future Rajputs in India. Let's go forward. And what is the difference between these? Can you go to the next slide? Yes, thank you. Uh, what is the difference between these two different type of people? The Chinese people call our Indo-European type of people Dinlin or long heads. Uh, Hunnu or Xunnu in Chinese language means the people to the north of China, and their real name is Xianbi, but Xiongnu or Hunnu is their Chinese name. They have different anthropological type. They're like this. They're with this other type of eyes and other another anthropological type. So the ethnogenesis start between these two type of people. You know, in India you have this type, that type, and some other type. You have three different types: the Dravidian type, the Aryan type, more white people, and the other people are of this Mongolian, so-called Mongolian type of people. So the ethnogenesis in India is huge, just because this is, I hope, I guess, this is the biggest country in the world, not like territory, but as quantity of people, for sure. China is not number one anymore. Okay, let's go forward. Can you go to the next slide? And now this is on your territory. The Aryans in the time of Mahabharata, there are many sources, many different dialogues around the correct time of Mahabharata, but we know from the archaeologists working around Kurukshetra that the exact time is around 15th, 14th century BC. Well, what's going on in Mahabharata? We have the horses from Balkh, and the emperor of Balkh called Balhika. In this group of people, for sure, were Bulgarians. They were also horsemen. All the horses of our kings at that time were white, and this is very important. You can see the chariot of Krishna and Arjuna, and they used the chariot of Balkh also. So these connections were very interesting at that time. And in Mahabharata, we can read behind the words that the war is not only the evil, the war is also a type of dialogue between the people. You know, probably 75 years ago, stopped the process of non-stop wars in the world. We are living now in peace. It's not typical for the world. Before this, to be a warrior was the greatest plus for every one of persons in the world. So, to be a warrior means to be brave, to be noble, to be rich, etc., etc. And warriors were number one at that time. You know, the caste of the Varna of Kshatriya, they are very important everywhere. Also in our country, in Bulgaria, we has the same four Varnas. We has also Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These four Varnas we use in our society uh, before. Let's go forward. Next. And now we can see in this time there were many small countries. You can see the modern map: Russia, Kazakhstan, etc., etc. And this, to the right side of this map, or east, southeast part, this was the very part of Proto-Bulgarians at that time. We has a lot of connections through Tokharians and through the people at that time, in these big empires: Balkhara, Tushara, this is the Tokharians, Sakastan, and Bactria. We has a lot of connections with India, and we are a part of so-called Hindustan Peninsula. This is not far away from the real peninsula. So this is the more cultural place in the world until present days. This is India. To be connected with this place was a big proud for these people, because we like to make a lot of connections with India and India people. The name of these countries at that time were Magadha, Mathura, etc., etc. There were Madhya Deshi at that time. But anyway, these connections were very strong at that time. They were on level of wars, exchange of sciences, exchange of religions, exchange, if you like, of gold, of markets, exchange of dynasty, marriages, etc., etc. You can see also the crown of Bactria at that time. This crown of Bactria, inside you can see also elements of Buddhism, which came 6th century BC, element of Indian style. There are many, many things. And these ruby stones came exactly from India. They came from Jaipur, from the area of Jaipur. At that time, Jaipur doesn't exist for sure, but these stones are proved and analyzed. They came from the area of Jaipur, very rich place of ruby stones. Can we go to the next slide? We know also about these connections from the giant library of Ashurbanipal. Ashurbanipal was a ruler of Assyrian kingdom. Part of this kingdom was in Iraq, in Iran, in many, many different countries. And Ashurbanipal wrote down all these connections. We found, the scientists found more than 4 million tablets in cuneiform alphabet, and the officers of Ashurbanipal explain about all the countries around Assyria or Assur at that time. And most of these countries we recognize Bulgarians and Indians too. In India at that time, according to Ashurbanipal library, there were 24 different kingdoms. We know the name of these kingdoms in Persian language, in Indian language. You know very well from your, for sure, from your history, from your ancient history. Next slide. The Persian Empire of Achaemenids came around 530 BC, and Achaemen created this, and this was the time of the first giant empire. Giant, I mean, for that time. This giant empire was connected also to the Balkan Peninsula. You can see to the western part of this map, and you can see some part of Thracia was captured, but by first rulers of Achaemenids. They create also the first law of the ancient world. They use the law of Hammurabi, and after they reach this law, and they use this law for everyone of this empire. To be a citizen means to keep the law, to keep the rules inside. Uh, let's go to the next slide. And you can see the most important between these people. This is Kurush e Kabir, or Cyrus the Great, so called. You can see his tomb in Ekbatana, and you can see how giant was this empire. For sure, this empire um, annexed Bactria. You can see to the right side of this map, and they has also many connections with the Indians because they use Indian elephants. They use in their army 37 different formations from Indians with camels, with elephants, with horses, etc., etc. Uh, and they use 127 different ethnical groups, but 37 from them were from India. This genesis, um, this idea of mutual connection between the countries was the main idea of Kurush Kabir, of Cyrus the Great. And this empire was the first federation in the world and very good lesson for all the people. Now, India is a sort of federation of different states, smaller or bigger. They're for sure larger than Bulgaria because in Bulgaria we have 7 millions. We have also a joke once Indian men came to Bulgaria and asked, uh, how many are in Bulgaria? How many Bulgarians you have? 7 million. And he told, oh, we have a hotel, this size hotel. We can put you, if you come to India, we can put you in our hotel. So it's a joke for sure. But this was the reality. So the idea of federation, of a balance of different ethnical groups, of religion tolerance, etc., was accepted by Ashoka 300 years after. First was accepted by Alexander the Great and after by Ashoka. This was very good lesson. Also for Bulgarians, because when Bulgarians came to Balkan Peninsula, they found here the Slavic people and the Thracian people, and they create this sort of federation. Where came from this lesson? This lesson came from Persia and from India. Next slide, please. After we can see that Alexander the Great, he just doubled the empire. He conquered only Persia and Egypt and came to India and he jumped, over the river Hydaspes, and the name of this Indian river now is Sindhu, or Indus River, etc., etc. He tried to conquer some part of India. He has not idea how big is India, but he recognized the real enemy for the first time in his life, and this was the King Parvaka, Raja Parvaka, and he understood that he have to stop. There is a column preserved very well from Alexander the Great time. He wrote on a column, I, Alexander, stop here because I understood that the most difficult thing is to conquer yourself, not the world. And this is very important. Indians teach Alexander that the world is too big. He has not idea how big is the world. First. And second one, he has first meeting with Buddhist and Hindu priests. He has a dialogue with them. And by the end, he understood that there is not only his religion and Persian religion and Egypt religion. He knew not too many religions in his life, but he saw in these religions, in the Buddhism and Hinduism, he saw that there is some other way, and this is the way of ahimsa. This is very important lesson to Alexander. And he start to establish a peace in his new empire. And the peace was preserved 6 years at that time. No wars, nothing. This was the time of so-called golden era for his Macedonian empire. Next slide. He created, he created the Silk Road. This is the Macedonian, Greek, Bactrian kingdoms created this Silk Road, and this was one of the roads to transport without any duties, without any uh, extra money, some things from China, from India to Europe. This was the first try to go through the path of peace, not through the path of war. He was a great warrior, giant master of war, but by the end of his life, he realized that the war is the bad opportunity. This is not good to be in war. Next slide, please. And at that time, we know about Shambhala. Shambhala, in ancient Tibetan language, more near to the Kailasa mountain, Mount Kailash, they were the Shanshung people or Zhuzhan people in Tibetan language. They create a map. This is the map, 3rd century BC. In the center of this map, you can see this is the tomb of Kurush-e-Kabir, Cyrus the Great, in the center. And the map is like a spiral. You can read the map like a spiral. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can find not only the Indians who are very near to this center, but by the end of this map, we can see also where are the Proto-Bulgarians at that time. They were a part of Alexander the Great kingdom. You can see the portraits of Alexander the Great. He was exactly this person. This is he, because the portraitists of that time, they were masters. 100%, this is the Alexander the Great. Let's go forward. And next, you can see the Empire of Moria down. And 41, number 41, there are Bulgarians at that time. They move from their motherland, probably 1,000 kilometers to north. Why? Because at that time came 2nd century BC, came a very large group of Sarmatian people and Saka people. They came to this place where was the motherland, and Bulgarian moved to the north. Let's go to the next slide. In Persia start the Parthian kingdom. The Parthian kingdom is a kingdom of people with very great knowledge in sciences. At that time were created many of modern sciences as mathematics, logics, etc., etc. I mean, not only this science between the priests, mainly in priests and in the courtyards of kings, but the science between the people. First, great schools for everybody. Most of people in Parthia know this complicated cuneiform language, and they can read, they can speak very well, they can write at that time. This was a great modernization of education process. Educated person, according to the Parthian rulers, is the person we need in our country, because the stupid person can't do nothing. He can't serve the society, he can't serve himself. And the blue part of this map, you can see this here were the Balkharians or Bactra. At that time they were living in this place. Now this is the place around Mashhad in modern Iran. Let's go forward. Parallel with this, in Hun territories, mm, start the biggest empire in the world after the of Shan Yui or Raja Mao Tun or Mo De in Chinese language. This is the rising of Hunnu or Xiongnu. They conquer everything you can imagine. They try to conquer even Tibet and Bhutan. They conquered the entire China, the entire Korea, uh, biggest part of contemporary Russia, this eastern part of Russia, etc., etc. They were brilliant horsemen, and they like to conquer as more as possible people in the world. Uh, at that time, they can't conquer also parts from Central Asia just because they has not idea how far they can go. But the after in probably 12th or 14th centuries came time of Chinggis Khan or Genghis Khan, uh, and at that time they knew where and how to go. Let's go forward. We can see a map of the so-called Ptolemaic. This is first European map. And on this map, next slide, please. On this map, can you hear me? Next slide. Okay. On this map, you can see also to the right side is Bactria and down is India. European map industry created this sort of maps. They are absolutely approximated maps, not a real one, but every single country is in his place, and we know who is neighbor of the others. So we know exactly where were the Proto-Bulgarians. They were a little bit norther than the India. Let's go forward. Next slide. On next slide, we can see the Kushanian Empire, Great Kushanian Empire. So, very big part of Kushanian came to India. And you can see the Western satraps. Satrap is coming from Kshatrapavam, Indian, Iranian, or Kshatriya. So, Western Kshatriya and Kshatriya to the center of India. Kushanian Empire came to here, also to here. You can see they came very near to Mumbai, some part of this part of India. You can see which states they control at that time, just because they were very serious and good horsemen. But Kushanian Empire was the main religion in Kushanian Empire was the Buddhism. This was the um, first hello of Buddhism to Bulgarian people too, because in the center of Kushanian Empire, near Balkh, was also the capital. Balkh was the capital of this empire. So Bulgarian knew very well the Buddhism from this Kushanian Empire because they accept this religion. It's very strange. Ashoka also accept the Buddhism, and Kanishka and Vasishka, the first emperors of Kushanian, also accept the Buddhism, but at that time they didn't accept the idea of ahimsa. Let's go to the next slide. You can see one more map. This is in our language of Kushanian Empire. At that time, in Kushanian Empire, this is the beginning, and the time of Kanishka. Kanishka is coming from Khan or Khan. You know, this is a normal name in India, also in Bulgaria. Khan means ruler in Kushanian language, also in Bulgarian, and more the languages at that time. Let's go forward. Next slide, 26. What's going on at that time? Xianbi or Hunnu, they start to control the center of Asia, and they start to go to many different places. And this was the unique reason of Proto-Bulgarians to disappear from their motherland. Why? Because the Badi or Eftalites came to their places and they pushed them outside of these beautiful places around Afghanistan, contemporary northern part of Afghanistan, part of India, part of Pakistan, etc., etc. This was the idea of these people to conquer, if possible, the entire world. They were conqueror. Let's go next. This green map shows the Huns, Attila Huns, the Khanate of or Badi. Uh, they came absolutely to Europe. This is the time of Attila. He established the second largest empire in the world. They attacked the Hungary, Germany, France, Italy, also contemporary Bulgaria. You can see on Balkan Peninsula. They were very active and they came also to India. One of the rulers of that time was Mihirakula. He killed 900,000 Indians at that time. It's written very well. This is the northern part of India. They call them Indians, but they were Kashmiri people, absolutely people not good warriors at that time in villages. They were professional killers. There is no idea why they did this thing, but they did this. The path of war was their way of life. Let's go to the next slide. And you can see now exactly where came from Bulgarians. With number 165, this is the year 165 AD. From the motherland, Proto-Bulgarian came to Caucasus Mountain and they create many small or bigger kingdoms. One in now in Ukraine and Russia, the other one in Russia to the north, one to Caucasus Mountain, one is the Danube, Bulgaria, which is preserved until present day. Until present days, I'm speaking now from this country, and it was established 681 by Asparuch, Bulgarian ruler and Khan. After it was Pannonian Bulgaria. Down is the Macedonian Bulgaria. Into Italy, they established a big kingdom. So we have 8 different Bulgarians at that time. And one more small Bulgaria called Baltica. We know for sure that there are many parts of contemporary Rajasthan which were a part of Proto-Bulgarian small kingdoms. For example, Bansko, Khania, there are many small cities, small towns around Jaipur with Bulgarian names, Sevar, etc., etc. There with Bulgarian names. And up you can see a graffiti, and it's written Khan and Pomir. Pomir means Pamir mountain, and the warrior came to these places. Next slide. Here is the name book of Bulgarian Khans, and we can see the first Khan was called Bulgarios or Bulgarios. He arrived in Europe with 300,000 warriors. This means no less than 200,000 people around him, just because there were wives, children, elderly, etc., etc. Bulgarian built cities, 180, etc., etc. You can read by yourself, and I hope Dr. Gita will send you this presentation. For sure, you can have this presentation, all of you, online to use this for different purposes if you like. And this is the document to the left. So we know when we came to Europe and why for we came to Europe. Next slide. You can see the empire of Khan Attila or Attil Khan in Mongolian language. He, if you see the coins, the second part of these coins, to the right side, you can see an altar for Agni Hotor. This is absolutely Indian custom. he used this. He believed that Indians are number one in the world. He liked to live long enough to come to India and to visit India, because he accepted from body from the athletes, his cousins and his uncles. He accepted this idea that the purification through the fire is the best purification in the world. You can clean yourself from all the evil things. Let's go forward. Next. And the Heptalite kingdom, you can see in the center of these maps. During the Huns in Asia, Heftalites or Badi or Heptalites, they ruled this center of Asia at that time. And they came eventually to India, and they were first Rajputs in India. You can see the upper part of this map, you can see a Rajput at that time. This is the reconstruction of this Rajput. But down you can see an Indian warrior with his arrow and his bow. He was like this before the Heftalites, and after they create these strong warriors called Rajputs. Let's go forward. And next slide show the Turk people, Turkut at that time. They came, they are also cousins of Hunnu people. They are very war-orientated people. They came also with horses, and they start to rule the entire upper part of Asia. They has a lot of different tribes inside, but to the left side you can see near to Caucasus Mountain is written Bulgaria. This is a Russian map. Bulgarians, they were here with Khazarian people. So the Turkuts, they will come after to India just because in time of Mongolian Empire. Next slide. This is the time of establishment of this, the new Bulgaria. You can see at that time Asparuh and his son on this print. This is the Khan Tervel, the son of founder of the new Bulgaria, Khan Asparuh. This was the first country. But the most important you can see on the next slide. This is the Madara horseman. This Madara horseman, no, to the previous, please. The previous slide. One back. Can you go one back? Yes, thank you. Well, so the Madara horseman. The word Madara is coming from Iranian and Old Iranian and Old Indian language. You know, Madara is coming from Madar, Modar, which means mother. We use the same word. This is the biggest bas relief in Europe. Next slide, we can see the history of this. First, Sumero-Akkadian Mihro or Mithra means the god of new day, of sunrise. He is killing the lion, and he showed that he is the master of the new day. Same we see in Thracian tradition. We call this Heros. Let's go forward. Now we can jump a little faster. Same, next slide. Yes, you can see the same with Maitri or Maidar. Maidar, this is in Tibet. Maitri in India and Nepal. Maitri is the same god of future day. Next, let's go. And in Persian Empire, they call this Modar. Every A is O. The vowel A is O. Kushanian create same relief, but before Bulgarian. We took this, we just copy and paste on Bulgarian rocks, and you can see the same warrior on Bulgarian treasure, Bulgarian Khan. Let's go forward. The horseman is very important also for all these horse-orientated people. There are Hunnu warriors, Huns, and Bactrian Amazons, Bactrian ladies. They were also good warriors, ladies warriors. Bulgarians came from Bactria, also from Balhara, Bactria, and a lot of Proto-Bulgarians were very good ladies warriors. Next one. Our cousins are the Sakas, Sarmatians, and Scythians. You can see the Scythian riders, Sakas, Tigrahauda, and Sarmatian hunt. So all these countries, they use the horse as a main tool in their battles, in their hunts, etc., etc. Next slide. You can the Sassanids, who are also our cousins, Bulgarians, and Bulgars. Bulgars, they are now in Russia, in Tatarstan. They are living, they are part of Proto-Bulgarians too. Everything is connected with the horse, horse, lion, horse, lion. This means that the man is the chief of all the nature. The lion is the strongest animal, according the Proto-Bulgarian tradition. If you kill a lion, you are the master of this world. So in India, this is the elephant, but you never kill elephants in India because elephant, this means to kill Ganesha, which is nonsense. Let's go to the next slide. This tradition to use the horses remains the same in Bulgaria. You can see up the Buskashi, или Boskashi. This is the game in Afghanistan. They work on horses and it's a national game. Same you can see in Rag and Najab, in different places in Iran. Everything you can see on the rocks. The horse is the most important thing. Next slide. We know many things about Proto-Bulgarians and connection with the Indians and the Hindustan Peninsula through archaeology. We see the Toharian grave, how it looks like, Ishkushim graves in Pamir, and Balhikian craniums, different craniums. We know from genetic code of these things that these people were our grandfathers. At the same time, we can't find too many bones and craniums in India. Why? Because of cremation. And archaeology in your country can't tell not too much about the past. Sometimes we find, the archaeology find some things in the graves, but it's not too rich. You can see horses everywhere. Next slide. The next slide, you can see the Zoroastrian funerals. Same. We use the bones and put in ossuaria. These bones are coming from Shuman. This is a part now in Afghanistan and Tajikistan on the border. We preserve these bones. This is different tradition. Next, you can see in the archaeology decoration of Alexander the Great belt from Bactria. In his left hand, right from your side, he is using the fire. Same, Agni Hotor. This is the connection with the Indians. You can see the Saka warrior, everything is in gold, and the Kushanian kings. This is Alexander and Roxana, his wife. They use the idea of ideal love coming from Radha Krishna. He used this idea also in his kingdom. And this is the idea of Alexander to create this big marriage. 10,000 warriors, he met him with 10,000 different ladies from India, from Bactria, from Persia, and he created a mass marriage at that time, just because love have to conquer the world. Next slide. This is the belt of Roxana treasure. Here, her real name is Rukhshana, or beautiful face in Iranian language. And same, she is on the lion, taming the horse. You are the master of the world. And Kushanian Emperor Vasishka, you can see the haircut of Kushanian Emperor. Same style. This is the Indian style of haircut, of hairdress. Next, uh, absolutely interesting. This is from platinum is created this, and gold. This is the wedding of Alexander and Roxana, two lions in the chariot. It was real, and Alexander as the god, like the sun. You can see Surya, Chandra, and Alexander, male, female, and Alexander as some different gods. So the king is Raja, Rajati Raj, how you call in your language. Next one, castles. We took the idea to build castles from India for sure. Balkh is created under Indian copyright, so called. And the other Bulgarian, you can see Bulgarian and Balkharian fortresses, they're copy paste from Indian style of building fortresses. Next slide. You can see also many fortresses in Varnu, Balkhara, and the name Varnu is coming from India, Varna. Uh, and Ishkushim Kala, Kofir Kala, etc., etc. So many buildings are created with this knowledge coming from India. Next one, what we know from India also. This is the way of life. You can see next, you can go only 5-6 seconds per slide. Next slide, you can see the way of life, absolutely typical for all the northern part of India and central part of India. This is Bulgarian life, way of life, but we took everything from India. 51, next slide. Cotton, the harvest. Next slide, the mulling, the baking. We are doing also types of chapati, of puri, etc., etc. We have, this is the national food, Bulgarian bread. Next slide, we know about the animals, the stock breeding, how we do this. These are people from our countries. And next slide, the way of life. You can see the symbol in the center of this bread is very important for us. These 7 circles. This means 7 chakras. We know this from India. The salad, you know, this mumfali, etc., etc. Everything is very near to this part of India. We use this style of life. Next, 55. Next slide. You can see we call this circle, this wheel of Gandhiji, we call this chakrak, from the name chakra, Indian. In Bulgarian, we call chakrak. We took everything from all these things from India. Next slide. The carpets. You can see many elements. To the left side, this is the turtle or kurma. To the left side, this is stylized turtle. Long leaf, the person. This is the idea. In the center, we use this element of temples. To the right side, we use also the swastika from India. These are Bulgarian carpets, but we use this knowledge from you. They are created probably 200 years ago, but we preserve this tradition. This is the reason to call India mother. Next slide. The crafts. You can see to the northern part of India, there are many crafts near to Bulgarian crafts. These are Bulgarian crafts. To the right side, you can see the Tibetan people, or people from Ladakh, Zanskar, Spiti, Lahul, etc. To the left side, they are Bulgarians. You can see what style. You can see also the bindu on this lady. This is Bulgarian lady. We use also this in villages, and we believe this is the joy and connection with the gods. Next, the other crafts show what we use in our villages. Absolutely the same use the Indian people. Very, very, very similar. Next one, Bulgarian treasure from Nagi St. Miklos. This is a part of Bulgaria at that time. And you can see many treasures at that time. They're very near to the Iranian style and Indian style of plates, of cups, of pots, etc., etc. Everything is connected. These animal elements, the bulls, the cows, etc., etc., we use for sure in our arts. Next slide. Very important thing. Down to the right side, you can see two nadas in people, in all of our people, two lines. You know this from yoga, from your side. There are three channels, Ida, Pingala, Sushumna. We use this, and the most important colors are white and red. And every March, we are using this martenitsa, and we put this martenitsa everywhere. You can see on horses. They are in Tibet. They're used for yaks. You can see one yak. We are using for the trees, etc., etc. This means to be white or pure or clean, religious clean, and red means the blood connecting all of us. These two channels of mutual understanding, love, and same ahimsa. Next slide, you can see a Bulgarian instrument. All the world call this tambura or tambul bolkhori, Bulgarian tambura, or Bulgarina, Bulgaria, Bogoria, Balkharina, Dambura, Dombra. There are many things. You can the Indian relief with the same instrument from Mathura. So this instrument came from India for sure, and all the world now know the guitar is coming from this instrument, not from Indian sitar, but from this tambura, Indian tambur, is coming this instrument to all the world. Next slide. You can see the dolak, one of the Indian instruments, and the daira and darbuka, two instruments coming from the Indian dolak. You call also darbuka. Now you have a lot of modification, mridangam, you have the tabla, different instruments, but the father came from India, and this is the dolak, the instrument dolak. Next one, nai. There are many names of these instruments to the right. This is a type of flute, pakudi. There are many names, various wind instruments. We took this from India for sure, Bulgarian came. And the other instrument to the left side, they are Bulgarian type of instruments, more near to sarangi. So these instruments are mutual for our countries, but they came for sure from India. So the connection is absolutely visible. Next one, next slide. You can see the entertain business came also from India. All these people who were actors, street actors, we call this boz or dance. You can see this on Indian bas relief. People who are dancing, who are doing different entertainment elements, shows on the streets. You can see on Indian bas relief. And next slide, you can see the anthropology. First, it's absolutely sure we came from this part of the world, connected to the northern part of India, just because of our genetic codes and anthropological type of people. Let's go forward just to see the city children. All these children are now in northern part of India and Pakistan, Afghanistan and Tajikistan. the pictures are from this part. But all the modern Bulgarians are this type of people. We preserve this type. Next slide. You can see the girls, how they look like in these countries. They are typical Bulgarians. If you see on Bulgarian streets, you will recognize Bulgarians, but they are from Tajikistan, from Afghanistan, from this part of the world. Northern part of India, you know, there are many people like this. Next slide. The boys, same. They are from different parts of Central Asia or northern part of Hindustan Peninsula. Next slide. The women. And next slide. The man. Anthropologically, we are very near to this part. Next slide. These are my colleagues from different science academies or different teachers, professors from different universities, and you can see the type. More or less, they are near to contemporary Bulgarians. They are living in your territories of Hindustan Peninsula. And next, the elderly. One of these person to the right side is Muslim. You can see, recognize. In the center, this is a teacher, and the other is a lady, old lady, grandma. And next one, in Zerafshan Valley, this is the for sure connected with Bulgaria. This is one teacher and his student. They are very, very near to Northern Indian type and Proto-Bulgarian type. Absolutely sure. You can recognize if this person is on the streets of Delhi or in streets of Chandigarh or some other, or in for example, somewhere in Kulu or Manali, you can see that this is a normal person from there. But this person is coming from Zarafshan. Zarafshan, this is in Tajikistan. So these people anthropologically is coming from one place. Next slide, you can see my person in the center working with this tambour, this instrument, and two colleagues of mine. This is in Ishkoshim Valley, Wahandaryo. This is the very interesting valley. This is between Pamir and Pakistan, today Pakistan. Next slide shows the mutual understanding between us. You can see the poppy plants, very popular in this part of the world. You can see the Pianj River. All the ancient civilizations are organized around the river. Bulgarian came from the river, and also the cultures of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, they came from Indus River. Around Ganges River were the oldest countries. So the river remains the same everywhere in this part. Connected to the river, you're connected to the life. And you can see the Munjan Valley in Hindu Kush. And camels, you know very well, but these camels are Bactrian, not the dromedary you have in Jaipur, for example, but with two hatchbacks. Next slide. And next slide shows the my travels. This is in Balkh, Afghanistan. You have to be for sure with guards, just because there are Taliban, there are many people who are not very friendly with scientists. And this is the part of people which I use when I travel with my colleagues. We have to be safe. Just because being some white person like me, everybody think this is American or someone else or Russian. They like to kill you as soon as possible. So I survive in these cruel times being a scientist. And two more slides, the Mongolians. Genghis Khan or Chinggis Khan.
Change.
Yeah, change, yes, change. Genghis Khan conquered probably the entire Asia. and conquer the half of Europe. His idea was to be rich. His idea was to dominate through the power of war. The first people who stopped Genghis Khan were the Bulgarians. He never reached the new Bulgaria. He conquered 90% of Europe, but Bulgaria stopped him. Not because of the Danube River, but because of the army of Proto-Bulgarians. Also, Genghis Khan was the father of Mongolian people, the people who conquered some parts of India. And the idea to conquer someone is a great idea for that time. But one of the rulers at that time, Genghis Khan, told at that time, I will change the entire India and I will turn to the way of life of Mongolia. But the person told, I don't remember for sure the name of this Raja, he was beaten by Genghis Khan and he told, probably I will lose my head, great Khan, but not you will change India, India will change you. And this is the reality. India remains the same. There are not Mongolians in India anymore. The synthesis between these two places, India sucked the power of Mongolian and converted the Mongolian to way of life of Indians. One more slide. Next slide. The Mongolians and Mughals. Mughals conquered some part of India, not too big, not too small. But during the Mughals, they accepted all the traditions of India. And this was a real good dialogue between these superpowers, these two superpowers. And from this very time came the idea that the peace is much better than the war. This is the Timur or Tamerlan Timurhan Empire, so called. One more slide. Next. Eliu Chutsai was the writer, the diarist of Genghis Khan, and he told him once, to found an empire on horse is possible, but to rule it from the horse is impossible. Because of this, Genghis Khan by himself cut his head, just because he spoke about him. And but one of his sons, Han Tuman, told, this is great, this is a great idea. And the other Hans created their capitals. They stopped to conquer the world. And this was a great lesson. Bulgarian Khan Omurtak told something like the same. Everything of us was born, and if you live a good life, this is great, but everyone will pass away, for sure. You are living a miserable life or good life, you will pass away. And let everyone think about this. How they believe also, Proto-Bulgarians, in the reincarnation, same like the modern Indians. You think about your karma. And karma, from the point of view of Proto-Bulgarians, is the same. Karma means your deals, your actions. They have to be clean. Good deals, good karma. This is the law of cause and effect. Effect will be great if the cause is great. Work for the others. Be a normal human being. Don't stop the others to develop themselves. Help the others, serve the others, and you will be a really great man. So this lesson we know very well. The Bulgaria The Bulgarians are not people who are, we are good warriors for sure, but we don't like to conquer nobody. And the connections between India and Bulgaria, they are very strong just because of this. In the time of Todor Zhivkov, in the previous communist time, it was his daughter was in love in India, with India. She was with connection with Indira Gandhi, with Rajiv Gandhi. She was in connection with Riorik family, with many great people, with Krishnamurti, with the cream of India at that time, and she established many Hindu Bulgarian societies of cultural education and synthesis between these two cultures um, for mutual understanding and work together. And I think this is the best way to be together. Uh, I have to tell a conclusion by the end before to thank you for your attention that I have been 52 times to India. I don't know India very well. I can't say that I know India very well, but I love to be in India. And we say in Bulgaria, no one is going just once to India. He likes to come many times to India. And I believe very well in this. I believe that this is the truth. Just because we know this is our motherland, we came from India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Alexander Iliev. It was, I feel that many of us had a feeling that we were getting a recap of Indian history from 3rd century BC to the say 6th, 7th, 8th history through the Mughal period. So it was more a recap of Indian history. You also showed us the links and how the Bulgarians have shared heritage from India in terms of the archaeology, the castles, fortresses, way of life, of food, of chakrik, which our Mahatma used to spin his clothes, of the bindi, of musical instruments, of music and theater, and an entire way of life. So there are so many things that India has influenced Bulgaria through the ages. The rhythm of Silk Route, of Silk Trade, the taming of the horse, the and of the migrations of the Proto-Bulgarians from the Balkans, from today's Afghanistan, that is from Hindustan as first settlers in Bulgaria area was very well brought out, and also of the Balk being called as the mother of cities, and in India meaning a blessed city, and that 45% of the Bulgarians are from the Pamirs. One of the similarity of the mother goddess of Mokosh with the Indian Durga, which I think is very pertinent today as we are celebrating the last day of the Shakti, and tomorrow being Vijay Dashmi. It does mean a lot. The mother goddess has a very significant role in both the cultures. Of Sakyamuni Buddha, the Bulgarians take him as their cousin, as the Sakas were ruling them. It was very interesting. Also of the Kushans, the Macedonians, and the Bactrian link. Intending to note that, very interesting to note that the chariot used by Arjuna was of Bulgarian make. So made in Bulgaria was also used at that time, and very interesting and very surprising to note of the caste system that was prevalent earlier in the Bulgarian society, and also the connection with the Assyrian Empire as documented by Asurbani Pal. Bulgarians and Indians were noticed, and it is a good example of shared heritage. Your last summing up was really very interesting of peace, of ahimsa, which we say as ahimsa paramo dharma, of reincarnation, of karma. And ultimately, what you said was you have never conquered lands through the horse or through wars, but through cultural interflow. So it is more in tandem with the Indian concept of conquering lands culturally without shedding any bloodshed or this thing. I think this is more the need of the hour today, and where we should again go back to these concepts. It was a very interesting 1.5 hour session, Dr. Alexander Iliev, and I thank my audience who have patiently sat through and listened to it. So I will now go into some a few questions, and there are many compliments saying that it was a very fantastic talk, very interesting, bringing about new data. So there is a question from Pratima Ravi Prakash of Bengaluru, who says the slide dealing with the Aryans and the time of Mahabharata, where is it available for viewing? I think the professor has told that the slides are with me and I can share it with you. If it is that, I think your question is answered. But otherwise, I don't know if you have a different take on this, Dr. Alexander.
No, no, no. That's it. I think I told
Okay.
the
Okay.
maximum.
So she other again asked, are there any Bulgarians who still follow Buddhism today?
Yes, we have.
So is it a big proportion of them?
Not too big proportion. Probably 50,000 Bulgarians are Buddhists.
And you have some Buddhist temples, shrines.
Yes, we have
Uh,
just one temple, but there are shrines in some private places.
oh, then
Yes.
how do the people go to offer their prayers if it is in one place and the people are spread out in the entire country of Bulgaria? Then how
They
do they?
are coming to, yes, there are different places, probably 12 we have, 12 or 13 we have in Bulgaria, and they are going sporadically when they have to pray, but everyone has a small shrine in his house, if you like to be. We have also Hindus in Bulgaria.
Oh, and what is the percentage of the Hindus?
So Hindus, so they are mainly connected with the Krishna society, with
ISKCON.
Swami Iskon and Prabhupada, and some of them are Orthodoxal, Orthodoxal Hindus, who are mostly orientated to Shiva cult, and they practice. We have good quantity, 55, 60,000 Hindus in Bulgaria, Bulgarian
Oh,
Hindus, which is
so
interesting. Some of
yes.
them are organized by Mona Kaushik, and she's teaching them in Sanskrit, in Hindi language mainly, Urdu, because she has very great knowledge.
Is there a great interest in things Indian there?
Yes, we have a great interest. Uh, Why? Because of the arts. Number one is yoga, for sure. We have no less than 500,000 people who are doing yoga by themselves. And everyone in Bulgaria knows about yoga because it's in every single family, there is one person who is doing yoga. There are probably 10% of Bulgarian are vegetarian just because of this. I'm also vegetarian. 50 years
Oh,
ago, I stopped to eat any type of meat. I'm not vegan, but vegetarian. I eat, for example, this milk and palak, palak paneer, this
oh,
type of different food, and lassi, etc., etc. But I prefer to kill nobody, even the mosquitoes.
yes, even in your thoughts also.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
So, so from Sneha Priya Yanappa from Bengaluru, thank you very much for this unique perspective. Where do you think Bulgaria and India stand today when it comes to historical and spiritual exchange?
India and Bulgaria, this is a good question, I think so. Before, 30 years ago, during the communist period, we were absolutely close. Bulgarian embassy to Delhi, the quantity of officer were 320, which for Bulgaria is very large amount of people. Now we have seven. This is the first answer of this question. 90% of this society, small association of Bulgarian Indian cultural institutes, they're blocked. They doesn't work. I know for sure. I have a friend of mine in Kolkata, Dr. Gita Sharma. He also until present days he preserved this society, and sporadically I'm coming to him. I'm sleeping in his house now. His house, big house, large house, is converted to this type of society, but before they has their own buildings. Now they are sold. I don't know what's going, but now we are doing very good business connections with India. For example, my wife has a connection with an Indian gentleman, and they're working together in this chain, BNI, Business Network International. And there is a large community in India. More than 1 million people are working, good businessmen, and she's with connection with these people. One is from Mumbai, one is from Bhubaneswar, and one is from Tiruvananthapuram. So there are many people who are working. We are using many things from India. We have bananas, pineapples, oranges. They are coming soon. Different products are coming, and people know this is from India. This is from India. There are stamps from India. It's very interesting. Probably you use the Bulgarian yogurt because this is the famous in the world. I saw in some shops in Delhi, in Mumbai, there are many Bulgarian yogurt, very special. Yeah.
From Dr. Ramchandra Rao, the historical importance of Bulgaria is well explained by supporting slides. At the same time, is explained the connections and comparison of different products and many other items with India and neighboring countries. Thank you very much for this unique lecture.
Thank you.
Then again from him, good presentation with very good and informative slides. Thank you very much, and also to Destination Heritage, especially to Dr. Geeta. So thank you, Mr. Dr. Ramchandra Rao, for always supporting us. Then from Sneha Priya Yanappa, who says, does this Indian influence still persist in modern day Bulgaria? Would love to know if this influence has extended to the cuisine too.
Mm. Yes, I think so. I hope that we will reach this connection between India and Bulgaria. Just because it's good to know your roots and to come to the roots sporadically. There is no tree without roots. So our tree, Bulgarian tree, the roots are in India, and we have to suck more as possible juices from India, because this is the way to survive.
So thank you, sir. There is from a last compliment from Mrs. Pratima Ravi Prakash. Thank you, sir. It was really enlightening talk about Indian connection. Thank you, Dr. Geeta, for giving us a glimpse into this. Language connection was mind blowing, like Brahmi, Pali, etc., coming to the fore. So,
Mm.
on this note, we come to the conclusion of this talk, a very interesting talk, giving us, enlightening us on various aspects or little known aspects of the Indo Bulgarian connect, more so Proto Bulgaria. And you said in the beginning that you wish the organization very well, and I'm sure in the with your blessings in the next few years to come, we hope to become a brand for heritage.
Yes,
So
thank you
thank
very
you
much.
so
Thank you
much,
for that.
Dr. Alexander Iliev. I have one more last question from my WhatsApp, which has come from youngsters. They say that I had read so much about you in the introduction that you were a mime wherein you have created Guinness Book record and all that. So they're very interested to know if you can give them a 2 minute mime performance.
Now,
Yes.
okay, great. I need a little space, more space. Okay?
Thank you so much. I think the youngsters would have understood what you had shown. But I think for the elders, some of us, why don't you just explain what exactly you had mimed?
Well, this is a master of masks, and when you change the masks, it's very interesting. This is a sort of entertainment, but same time you can lose your face. Don't put many masks of your face. Be you. That's the idea.
Very great. Because in the present times, this is what is required to be you rather than trying to be someone for somebody else, for society. I don't think it gels well for oneself in the long run. That was a very interesting mime, Dr. Alexander. Thank you so much for being so very sportive and giving the younger ones a small, what to say, a look into what mime in Bulgaria is about. Because this stream of theater is not very popular here. So it was
Yeah.
very interesting to see what exactly can be conveyed. It has got a social message also. So thank you so much for a
Thank
very
you.
interesting talk, and for all our viewers who have stayed with us, though we overshot a little bit. And I would like to say that next Saturday at about 7 o'clock, we are having a young prodigy of a performer, and it is going to be a fusion of Indian rhythm and the beats of the Western music. So I also give you a personal invite, Dr. Alexander Iliev, if you have the time, because it's very interesting. It is literally magic with his fingers. So I
Yeah.
would be very happy if you could take time off. I'll send you the invite too, just nearer the date. So please do join us for this interesting performance to see the talent of our Indian youngsters too.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.